My name is Samantha Hayes. I am 29 years old from Austin, Texas. What would you do if a complete stranger walked up to you, placed a hand on your pregnant belly, and claimed your unborn baby was theirs? Would you laugh it off or feel your entire world collapse in seconds? And what if your husband, the one person who should protect you, didn't react the way you expected? Would you still trust him, or start questioning everything you thought you knew about your marriage? Because what happened to me that day wasn't just shocking, it was the beginning of a truth so twisted, it nearly destroyed us both. So tell me, would you stay or run? It was a day like any other, or so I thought. I was 6 months pregnant, carefully navigating the small aisles of the grocery store, trying to avoid the bumping carts and glaring fluorescent lights, when I noticed her. At first, she looked like just another shopper, an older woman sharply dressed, with eyes that seemed to miss nothing. But then she started walking directly toward me. I froze. There was something in the way she moved, purposeful, almost predatory. When she stopped in front of me, I expected a smile, a friendly greeting. Instead, she looked me dead in the eyes and said my full name, Samantha Hayes. I swallowed hard, my heart suddenly racing. No one in this part of town knew me, let alone my name. And I didn't recognize her face. "Excuse me, do I know you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked past me, then back at my belly, as if she'd been expecting to see it for months. "You're 6 months along," she said casually, as if this was a fact she'd known all along. My hands flew to my stomach instinctively. How could she possibly know? Something in her voice made me step back. Calm, quiet, confident. Not the tone of a confused stranger, not even someone being polite. No, it was the tone of someone who knew something she wasn't supposed to know. And that, more than anything, made the air around us feel electric, heavy, almost suffocating. I tried to brush it off, forcing a smile. "Yes, I am." My voice shook slightly. "But do I know you?" Her eyes didn't leave mine. "I know the baby," she said simply. "And you're not protecting it. You have no idea what's coming." Every nerve in my body screamed. Was she crazy, a stalker? Or was there some hidden truth lurking just out of my sight? I couldn't place her, yet she seemed too precise, every word measured, every gesture deliberate. And when she mentioned my baby, it hit me harder than I expected. The baby I'd been protecting, imagining, dreaming about, suddenly felt exposed in a way I'd never considered. People started walking past, giving confused glances, but I couldn't move. My mind raced. How could she know these things? How could a total stranger possibly know my name, my pregnancy stage, even details no one had told her? I wanted to turn away, to call my husband, to run. But something kept me rooted in place, drawn by a horrifying curiosity I couldn't control. She leaned in slightly, her voice dropping to a whisper that only I could hear. "It's not just your baby. You're in danger, and so is your family. But if you listen, maybe you can stop what's coming." And just like that, she was gone, disappeared into the crowd as if she'd never existed. My stomach turned over. My hands were shaking. I was left standing there, alone, clutching my belly, with questions swirling faster than my thoughts could keep up. Who was she? How did she know? And most importantly, was she telling the truth, or setting me up for a nightmare I couldn't even imagine yet? That encounter didn't just startle me, it changed everything. It planted a seed of fear that wouldn't let me rest, that gnawed at every thought I had about my pregnancy, my husband, my life. And I realized, that day in the grocery store, my life as I knew it had already begun to unravel. After the encounter with the stranger, I rushed home, my mind spinning with questions I couldn't yet put together. My heart was still hammering, and every step I took felt heavier than the last. I needed my husband, needed him to reassure me, to shield me from whatever danger that woman hinted at. When I opened the front door, he was sitting in the living room, casually scrolling on his phone. The ordinary scene should have comforted me, but it didn't. I froze in the doorway, my voice tight, trembling. "You won't believe what just happened. Someone, she knew everything." I expected his immediate concern, the protective instinct that had drawn me to him years ago. But instead, he just looked up, blinking slowly, almost as if he were trying to process my words. And then he said something that stopped me cold. "What do you mean she knew everything?" There was no anger, no shock, no urgency, just a calm, almost detached question. My stomach sank. Was he not hearing me? Or worse, was he hiding something from me? I tried to explain, every detail I could remember. The way she walked directly toward me, the way she knew my name, the way she spoke about the baby as if it were hers. I watched him carefully as I spoke, expecting a spark of recognition, a flicker of concern, but his expression remained almost unnervingly neutral. And then he did something that made my blood run cold. He didn't grab my hand, didn't move to comfort me, didn't even glance toward my belly. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and said, "We need to be careful." His choice of words sent a shiver down my spine. My mind raced. Did he mean we in the usual sense, like, we'll figure this out together? Or did he mean we in a way that included her, the stranger? The thought was ridiculous, but that creeping doubt wrapped around me like ice. I pressed further, desperate to see some sign that he was on my side. "John, this woman, she said she knows the baby. She claimed the baby is connected to her. Something is wrong." His jaw tightened, and for the first time that evening, I saw tension flicker across his face. But instead of panic, instead of immediate action, he said slowly, deliberately, "I'll handle it." Handle it? There was no warmth in his words, no shared fear, no comforting reassurance. Just a distant, calculated edge that I hadn't heard before. I wanted to demand answers, to know what he meant, but I didn't. Because deep down, I realized I didn't know him the way I thought I did. Something about that phrase, his tone, made me wonder if he had been hiding secrets all along, secrets that might have invited this stranger into our lives in the first place. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the grocery store encounter in my head, the stranger's voice echoing in my ears, and John's calm, almost cold reaction haunting me. What was he hiding? Why did he seem almost complicit? And the worst part, I loved him. I trusted him. But for the first time in my life, I questioned everything about the man who was supposed to protect me. Because in that moment, I realized that the stranger's words might have been terrifying, but my husband's reaction was even more terrifying. It planted a seed of doubt and fear that would grow over the coming weeks, twisting every conversation, every glance, every late-night silence into something I couldn't ignore. And I knew I had to find out the truth, no matter what it cost. A few days after the stranger's chilling encounter and my husband's strangely detached reaction, I thought maybe I could shake it off. Maybe it was a random, unhinged person with a disturbing imagination. But deep down, a nagging unease refused to leave me. And then it happened, something that made my blood run cold and my entire world tilt on its axis. It started with a letter. No return address, just my name scrawled across the envelope in bold, familiar handwriting. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside was a note, short, precise, and terrifyingly direct. "You don't know the truth. The baby you carry isn't just yours. And if you continue pretending, everything you love will be lost." I dropped the letter. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure my husband would hear it through the walls. And then, as if on cue, there was a knock at the door. My blood froze. It was her, the stranger. Standing there again, her eyes sharp, unwavering, like a hawk watching its prey. I wanted to slam the door, to scream at her to leave, but something in her presence held me in place. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize. She just looked at my belly and said the words that would unravel every assumption I had about my life. "The baby you're carrying, it's connected to me. You were chosen to carry it, and no one in your life can stop what's coming." My stomach dropped. I wanted to laugh, I wanted to cry, I wanted to scream. The words were impossible. Absurd. And yet, the certainty in her voice made my mind race with fear and disbelief. How could she know this? What did she mean by chosen? What on earth did she think she had to do with my unborn child? I turned to John, desperate for his reaction, expecting anger, outrage, some defense. But again, he froze. His face paled, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something I had never seen before, something like recognition, maybe even guilt. But it passed quickly, replaced by the same detached calm that had frightened me days ago. "Ignore her," he said quietly, but the tremor in his hands betrayed him. Ignore her. How could I ignore someone claiming a right to my child, someone who seemed to know details that no one should know? And John's hesitation, his inability to react as any loving husband should, only made the words hit harder. Was he scared? Or worse, was he hiding something? The stranger stepped closer. "If you keep pretending this is all normal, you'll regret it. The truth is bigger than you can imagine, and the baby, it has a purpose." A cold sweat broke out across my skin. The baby I had dreamed about, planned for, and protected, suddenly felt like a ticking time bomb in my womb. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to protect myself and my unborn child. But where could I go? Who could I trust? And then the part that shattered me completely, the part I never expected, was when she looked at John, not me, and said, "He knows more than he's letting on. You're not the only one who's been chosen." That simple sentence, those words, flipped my world upside down. The stranger wasn't just a threat to me. She was exposing secrets I didn't even know existed. Secrets my husband had kept hidden, secrets that suddenly made me question every touch, every word, every smile we had shared. That night I sat in the nursery, the letter still in my trembling hands, the echo of her words ringing in my ears. And I realized my life had changed forever. Nothing would ever be the same. Not my marriage, not my family, and certainly not the baby I was carrying, because now I understood the stranger's claim wasn't just an accusation, it was a warning. And ignoring it could cost me everything. After the stranger's terrifying claim and my husband's unnerving silence, I couldn't just pretend everything was normal. Every night I lay awake in the dark, my hands on my growing belly, my mind racing with questions I had no answers for. Who was this woman? How did she know so much about my baby? And most importantly, why was John reacting the way he did? The first cracks started showing when I noticed small things that didn't make sense. A call John took late at night, he whispered too quickly, cut the conversation short. A text he hastily deleted before I could read it. Discreet meetings for work that didn't add up. Little inconsistencies, tiny gaps in his stories, things I had always brushed off. But now they screamed at me. I decided to dig deeper. I needed the truth. So I started quietly checking emails, looking through old messages, and paying attention to patterns I had ignored for years. And the more I uncovered, the colder my blood ran. There were people, places, and events he had never mentioned, names I didn't recognize, accounts I had never seen, and somehow they all linked back to the stranger. The stranger herself didn't disappear. She began showing up in unexpected ways, on social media, in places I had only told John about, even in conversations he thought I wouldn't notice. She was everywhere, a shadow I couldn't escape. Every time I saw her name pop up, every time I felt her presence lurking around us, my panic intensified. What did she want? And why was John so unusually calm about it? One evening, I confronted him. I tried to sound casual, though my heart pounded in my chest. "John, who is she? What's going on? I don't understand why she's involved with us, or with our baby." For the first time, I saw a crack in his composed exterior. His hands shook slightly, his eyes darted away, and his jaw tightened. He took a deep breath and said, "Samantha, there are things I didn't tell you because I thought I was protecting you." Protecting me? My mind reeled. What could be so dangerous that he couldn't even trust me with the truth about my own life, about my own baby? That's when the layers began peeling back. Late-night calls revealed a web of secrets, hidden connections, and a past I never knew existed. John had been involved in things I could barely comprehend, people he trusted, risks he had taken, and somehow all of it was tied to this stranger, to her warnings, and now to my unborn child. It wasn't just that he'd kept secrets, it was what those secrets meant. Every lie, every omission suddenly made sense in a terrifying way. He hadn't been protecting me from strangers. He'd been protecting me from truths so dangerous, so shocking, that they could destroy everything we had built together. And yet, the closer I got to understanding it, the more I realized that even John didn't know the full picture. Every revelation came with a new question. Every answer led to deeper confusion. Friends I thought I could trust seemed to vanish from the story. People I didn't even know were somehow involved. And at the center of it all was the baby I was carrying. By the end of that week, my life had become a puzzle of lies, half-truths, and mysteries. Nothing felt safe anymore, not my home, not my marriage, not even the growing life inside me. The stranger's claim wasn't just a threat anymore. It was a key unlocking truths I wasn't ready for, and each truth that emerged was darker than the last. I realized then, with a sinking certainty, that the world I thought I knew, the life I had carefully built with John, was already gone. And the choices I would have to make next could either save us all or shatter everything forever. After weeks of fear, confusion, and sleepless nights, the pieces finally started falling into place, but the picture they formed was far more shocking than I could have ever imagined. Every late-night call, every hidden message, every strange coincidence was suddenly connected to a single, devastating truth. It started when John finally sat me down one evening, his hands trembling, his face pale, the kind of expression that immediately makes you fear the worst. "Samantha, I should have told you everything from the start," he whispered. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of hope and dread. Maybe now we would finally have answers. What he revealed shook me to my core. The stranger wasn't just a random person with a strange obsession. She was someone from John's past, a connection he had never mentioned, a secret he had buried so deeply that even I, his wife, had never suspected. And the baby she had claimed. It wasn't just connected to her by coincidence. In ways I couldn't yet fully comprehend, my unborn child was tied to a truth about John's past that no one outside their circle had known. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. How could the man I loved, the man I trusted with my life, have been carrying such a secret, and why hadn't he warned me? My mind raced, trying to make sense of it, but the fear didn't go away, it intensified. Then came the revelation that truly shattered everything. The stranger wasn't there to harm the baby. She was there to protect it. The danger wasn't from her, it was from a hidden force, a secret enemy that John had been quietly shielding me from, a force powerful enough to manipulate events, track our lives, and even interfere with my pregnancy. And in that moment, I understood the truth that had eluded me for so long. John's strange, detached reactions, his late-night secrecy. Even his silence at the grocery store when the stranger appeared, it wasn't betrayal. It was strategy. He had been keeping the pieces hidden, keeping me in the dark, to protect both me and the baby from a reality I wasn't ready to face. The stranger's insistence, her calm confidence, made sense now. She knew more than I ever could, and she had been trying to guide me, to push me toward a realization I wasn't ready for. Every terrifying word she had said, every chilling glance, every impossible claim, it had all been true, in ways that no one would believe unless they were standing in our shoes. When John finally admitted the full scope, it was like the air cleared for the first time in weeks. The danger was real, yes, but so was his love, his commitment, and his willingness to face it all for us. And for the first time, I realized that the fear, the suspense, the panic, I hadn't been alone at all. The person I had doubted the most had been the one quietly, heroically fighting to protect me. By the end of that night, I wasn't just relieved, I was changed. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, my husband, and even myself had been tested. And though the truth had shocked me, terrified me, and almost destroyed me, it also showed me a strength I didn't know I had, and a love that could survive even the darkest, most impossible secrets. Because in the end, the stranger's claim wasn't just a threat. It was the catalyst that revealed a hidden truth, a truth that would have stayed buried forever if not for her. And that was the real shock that no one could have predicted. Can you imagine being in my shoes, a stranger claiming your unborn baby, and your own husband hiding secrets you never imagined? Flushed face if this story shocked you. Don't just scroll. Hit that like button to show you survived the suspense with me. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications bell, because the next story is even darker, even more twisted, and you won't believe what happens when secrets come to light. Comment below backhand index pointing down. What would you do if someone suddenly claimed your baby? Would you fight, run, or uncover the truth like I did? Stay with me, the next twist is coming and it's going to blow your mind. Fire.